I'm standing here in my arch tunnel that is covered in peas, and you can definitely say that I'm in my happy place. Peas are one of the cool season crops that I look forward to growing the most because fresh peas picked right in the garden taste so much better than anything you can get at the store. And in today's video, I'm going to share my best tips for growing peas. My name's Angela from Growing in the Garden. My garden is in Mesa, Arizona, Zone 9B, and I love sharing garden inspiration and helpful tips so you can be successful in your own garden. I love growing peas. Not only is the flavor so much better when you grow your own, because the sugars in peas begin turning to starch almost the moment you pick them. Peas are also really simple to grow, and they grow best vertically, which means that you can grow a lot of them in a small amount of space. My first tip is to choose the type of pea that you want to grow. There are several different types of peas to choose from. First, you have the traditional shelling peas. These are more of the old-fashioned pea with the inedible pods that you shell and eat the peas inside. Snow peas are a large, stringless, edible pod with small peas. The pods are often very large, and these are typically used in stir fries. Next, sugar snap peas. They are edible pod with full-size edible peas. You can pick at any stage and eat the entire pod with the seeds inside. It's important to know which type you're growing so you know when to harvest them and how to use them. Because we love eating the peas and the pod, hands down, our favorite variety is sugar snap peas. This is the type that I grow lots of every single year, and many times the peas don't make it into the house. This year we planted so many that we've even had enough to share. The next tip for growing peas is to understand that peas are a cool season vegetable. They are going to grow best in cool temperatures. So that means, depending on your climate, you need to plant them at the right time. They grow best at temperatures under 70 degrees. Here in the low desert, I plant beginning in mid-September or early October, and I continue planting through January. In cold winter areas, peas are often one of the very first vegetables that you plant and are usually planted a few weeks before your last frost date. Peas have a fragile root system. For that reason, I usually start peas directly in the garden, and they've done really well. You can also start peas indoors and then transplant them outside, taking care not to disrupt those roots. This year, I gave starting peas indoors a try, and the results were pretty good. I did get peas sooner from those plants. However, I've noticed less production on those plants that were started indoors than I have from my direct sown peas. So it's really up to you. Both ways will produce plants, and depending on your climate and growing conditions, it may be simpler for you to start them indoors. Plant the seeds 1 inch deep and about 2 inches apart. For square foot gardening, I plant 8 peas per square. Pests and birds can get to those seedlings. I usually plant a pretty thick row of peas along the trellis and then come back in and thin if needed. Peas don't need additional fertilizer, but they do need well-draining soil. Although peas like cool temperatures, they grow best in areas with plenty of sunlight. Choose an area that gets at least 6 hours of sun. To avoid pests and diseases, rotate where you plant your peas each year. Peas love to grow vertically. They need something to climb. Make a plan before you plant your peas for how you're going to support them vertically. Plant them next to a trellis, put bamboo supports in place at time of planting, or whatever vertical structure you're going to let them climb. How you water peas is important. They don't like to be soggy, but it's important not to let them dry out, especially when they're flowering. The pea roots are fragile and shouldn't be disturbed. Don't dig around the plants. To control weeds and preserve moisture, you can mulch the plants when they're about 2 inches tall. And then it's also important to help those peas find the trellis. Those tendrils will reach out to climb, but if they're not finding it, you may need to just help them find that trellis and encourage them to climb. Keep an eye on some of those branches. They may be kind of hanging down or hanging over and need a little extra help climbing that trellis. Not only are the pea vines beautiful, but they're also edible. Look for the shoots growing out from the vines. They can be eaten raw or lightly cooked. Peas overall are simple to grow, but they can be affected by different pests and diseases. Powdery mildew often looks like powder on the leaves or the vines. During periods of hot, dry weather, plants are more susceptible to powdery mildew. Fusarium wilt and other wilt diseases cause the vines to dry, yellow, brown, and die. White mold can cause stems to rot and wilt. If you've had a problem with any of these diseases in the past, look for disease-resistant varieties. These peas have been bred to be resistant to certain types of diseases. If plants are infected, don't add them to your compost pile. Go ahead and dispose of those plants. My last tip for growing peas is my favorite. Harvest peas early and often. If you're growing peas and leave them on the plant, that signals to the plant that its job is done and it's going to slow down or halt production. Use one hand to hold the vine steady and the other hand to pull off the pea. Harvest sweet peas when the pods are round and bright and green and shiny. Once the pods are dull, the peas inside are fibrous and less sweet. Harvest snow peas when the peas are visible but still flat inside the edible pods. Sugar snap peas are best harvested when the peas are well formed but are still small inside the edible pod. At the end of the season, leave some pods on the plant until they're brown and dried to save seeds. As temperatures heat up, you may find that the plants are looking a little bit worse for the wear and the production is slowing down. That means that the peas are probably close to being done. You may even see some disease or some yellowing start to form at the base of the plant. When it's time to take out the plants, don't pull them out. We want to leave those roots in place. Peas are nitrogen fixers. Snip the plant off at the base and remove the top plant, and if it's not diseased, put that plant in your compost, leaving those roots in place in the soil. If any peas make it inside the house, store peas for up to 5 days in the fridge in a paper bag placed inside a Ziploc bag. They can be frozen or dried for later use, but the texture of the peas will change. Peas are one of my family's favorite crops, and I can't imagine our cool season garden without them. Thank you so much for watching.